Hey horror fans, welcome to Cosmic Aries Videos. Before we move on, like, share, and subscribe. I've told this story to doctors, to friends, even to myself, and everyone asks the same question. How could you not notice? The answer is simple. Nothing about it felt wrong until it was already too late. There were 8 of us in that cabin. At least, that's how many we arrived with. I don't know when the extra person showed up. I was like 15 or something when this happened. I didn't want to go. That sounds dramatic now, but at the time it felt like a passing reluctance. One of those instincts you ignore because there's no logical reason behind it. Everyone else was excited. 4 days away from town, no schedules, no constant noise. My aunt owned the land, and it had been used by the family for decades without incident. Nothing bad had ever happened there. That's what everyone said. There were 8 of us when we arrived. I remember because I counted. I always count. I don't tell people that because it sounds strange, but it's something I've done since I was a kid. Counting helps me orient myself. It tells me where I am and what's supposed to be around me. 8 people, 1 cabin, 1 clearing, endless forest. The drive-in took longer than expected. The road narrowed until it barely qualified as one, the trees pressing close on both sides. When we finally reached the clearing, it felt less like arriving somewhere and more like being allowed in. The cabin wasn't old in a charming way. It was practical. Weathered wood, small windows, a porch that sagged slightly in the middle. It looked like it had been built to endure, not to welcome. Before anyone even unloaded the car, I noticed the air. It wasn't a smell at first. More like a sensation, sharp, dry, faintly metallic. The kind of feeling you get when you rub your feet on carpet and touch a doorknob. Static, anticipation. I told myself it was the generator, or maybe the heat. Late summer can do strange things to the air. I didn't say anything. We unpacked, argued over beds, teased each other about who would sleep closest to the door in case of bears. Someone joked about horror movies. Someone else said those always start like this. We laughed. That was the first day. That night, while we ate dinner around the small table, I had the strange sense that the cabin felt tighter than it should have. Not smaller exactly, just full. Crowded, like the walls were listening. I brushed it off and went to sleep. The next morning passed quietly. We explored the area a little, staying close to the clearing. No marked trails, no signage. Just trees and undergrowth so thick it felt intentional. Around mid-afternoon, 2 of us decided to walk toward the service road to see if we could get reception. They said they'd be back before dark. One of them grabbed a flashlight even though the sun was still high. I remember thinking that was unnecessary. They were gone longer than expected. When they returned, they didn't come back laughing or calling out like before. They slipped inside quickly and shut the door behind them. One leaned against the wall, breathing hard. The other kept looking at the windows like they expected something to be pressed against the glass. They said they'd seen someone. Not close, not far. Just far enough back in the trees that your eyes slide past them unless you focus. They said the person was standing completely still, facing away. At first they assumed it was one of us messing around, but then they realized something was wrong. No one else had left. That was when the air changed. This time it wasn't subtle. The metallic sensation hit the back of my throat, dry and sharp, like breathing in something meant for machines instead of lungs. That night we locked the door. Nothing happened. No footsteps, no sounds, no movement outside the windows. That almost made it worse. The second night blurred together at first. Everyone stayed inside after sunset. Someone tried to lighten the mood with music. Someone else shut it off. No one wanted noise. We sat too close together without meaning to. That's when I noticed the problem. I was leaning against the counter, half listening to the conversation, when I started counting out of habit. 1, 2, 3. I reached 9. I stopped. I counted again, slower. 9. The strange thing wasn't the number, it was that nothing felt wrong. No unfamiliar face, no one standing awkwardly, Everyone fit naturally into the room like puzzle pieces that belong there. I told myself I was tired. Then I asked, "Did someone else show up?" No one answered. They didn't look confused. They looked at me like they were waiting for me to continue. The lights flickered once. The metallic sensation vanished instantly, like a switch had been flipped. Someone laughed and said I was messing with them. I didn't laugh back. We stepped outside to clear our heads. The forest felt wrong in a way I couldn't explain. Too quiet, not silent, just muted, like sound didn't travel properly there. When we went back inside, there were 8 people. No one remembered anyone leaving. No one wanted to talk about it. The next morning, 3 people packed up and left. They didn't argue or explain. They just said they felt off and wanted to head back while it was still daylight. The rest of us stayed. I still don't know why. Pride, denial, the fear of admitting something was wrong. Later that afternoon, while we were packing loose items, I saw someone standing near the tree line. Same height as one of us, same jacket color. Back turned. They weren't hiding. They weren't moving. I felt cold all at once. I told everyone to stay inside. That was when the tapping started. Not knocking, just a single irregular tap against the door. Too light to be threatening, too deliberate to ignore. A voice followed. "Open!" The word sounded wrong, flat, careful, like it was being tested for the first time. The tapping continued for minutes, then stopped. No one slept that night. Near dawn, I realized something that settled deep in my chest with a quiet certainty. We weren't being watched. We were being counted. Once the idea took hold, I couldn't get rid of it. Being counted, not watched, not hunted, not stalked. Counted. The thought followed me through the morning like a shadow I couldn't shake. Every time someone shifted positions or stepped out of a room, my chest tightened until I quietly recalculated the number of people present. Still 7, still correct. Everyone acted normal, or as normal as you can act when something unnamed has unsettled a group and no one wants to be the first to say it out loud. Conversations stayed shallow. Jokes didn't land. Laughter felt forced, like a reflex rather than a response. I started noticing small things. Someone had moved my backpack, not far, just a few inches from where I'd left it. I assumed I'd done it myself until I realized the zipper was open. I never leave it open. A chair at the table wasn't where it had been the night before. None of us remembered moving it. None of this was dramatic enough to accuse anyone of anything. That almost made it worse. By midday, the forest felt closer. The trees didn't move, but the space between them seemed tighter somehow, like the clearing was slowly shrinking. At one point, I stepped outside alone. That was my second mistake. The air felt heavy again, not metallic this time, but thick, like humidity without heat. Sound behaved strangely. My footsteps sounded delayed, like they belonged to someone else a second behind me. I turned in a slow circle, scanning the tree line. Nothing. But the sense of being observed pressed in from all sides. When I went back inside, someone asked me where I'd been. I said, "Outside for a minute." They frowned. They said I'd been gone longer than that. That night, the lights flickered again. Only once. Enough to draw everyone's attention. Enough to make the room fall silent. I counted. 8. I didn't say anything this time. Instead, I studied everyone's faces. No one seemed unfamiliar. No one avoided eye contact. Everyone reacted to the flicker exactly as expected. Still, the number stayed wrong. I waited. I told myself that if something was off, it would reveal itself. It didn't. Later, when we split up to sleep, I lay awake listening to the sounds of the cabin settling. Wood creaked. Wind moved through the trees. Somewhere in the distance, something brushed against something else. At some point, I heard footsteps, soft, careful. I told myself it was one of the others getting up to use the bathroom, but the steps didn't go there. They moved slowly across the room, pause, shifted, then stopped. I held my breath. After a long moment, the footsteps resumed and faded. In the morning, no one admitted to being up during the night. That was when the memory gap started. Someone mentioned a conversation we'd supposedly had the night before. I didn't remember it, not even vaguely. Later, someone asked why I'd rearranged the food supplies. I hadn't touched them. By afternoon, I realized something worse. There were moments where I almost remembered doing things I knew I hadn't done. Like my mind was filling in blanks automatically, smoothing over inconsistencies before I could question them. That's when I understood how it worked. It didn't force itself into our group. We did the work for it. We assumed continuity. We assumed familiarity. We assumed that if someone was present, they belonged there. That evening, while everyone sat around the table, I counted again. 9. My pulse spiked. I looked around carefully this time. Everyone looked right. Everyone sounded right. Everyone responded at the correct moments, laughed at the right places, passed items naturally. But one person didn't speak. They didn't need to. They were close enough to the group to be unremarkable. That's when I noticed something subtle. They mirrored. If someone leaned back, they leaned back moments later. If someone crossed their arms, they did the same, but slightly delayed. Not enough to be obvious. Enough to feel wrong once you saw it. I didn't point it out. I didn't dare. The lights flickered. The smell returned, faint but unmistakable. And just like before, when the sensation vanished, the number corrected itself. 8. No one questioned it. That night, I dreamed I was standing in the cabin, counting people who refused to stay still. Every time I reached the final number, someone stepped into the room behind me. When I woke up, my throat hurt, like I'd been breathing something dry for hours. The next day, one of the others asked me something that made my stomach drop. They said, "Do you remember when you got here?" I told them yes. They asked me what time. I couldn't answer. Not because I didn't remember the drive, but because I couldn't remember arriving. I remembered the road, the trees, the clearing, but not the moment I stepped inside the cabin. That realization hit me harder than anything else had, because if I couldn't remember that, what else didn't I remember? That afternoon, I caught my reflection in a dark window. For just a second, it didn't move when I did. Then it corrected itself. That night, I didn't sleep. I counted over and over, afraid that if I stopped, something would change. At some point near dawn, I heard breathing that didn't belong to anyone else in the room. Slow, measured, practiced, and with absolute certainty, I knew something then. It wasn't copying us anymore. It was deciding. By the third night, the cabin no longer felt like a shelter. It felt like a container. We stopped talking about leaving, not because we didn't want to, but because every time the subject came up, the conversation slid away from it without anyone noticing. Someone would start packing, someone else would ask a question, someone would laugh at something unrelated. The topic dissolved. I started writing things down in my phone whenever I could. Counts, times, small observations. I didn't trust my memory anymore. I didn't trust any of ours. At 6:12 p.m., there were 7 of us in the cabin. At 6:18 p.m., there were 8. No door opened. No one arrived. I didn't say anything. Instead, I watched. The extra person didn't behave strangely. That was the most terrifying part. They laughed at the right moments. They nodded when spoken to. They responded when someone asked them something, but always with short answers, like they were conserving effort, like they were still learning. I noticed they never initiated conversation. They waited. That night, the power went out completely. No flicker, no warning, just darkness. Someone turned on a lantern, and the cabin filled with that dull yellow glow that flattens everything. Shadows pressed closer to the walls. Faces looked unfamiliar in the light. I counted. 8. My stomach dropped. I forced myself to say it out loud. There are too many of us. The room went quiet. Someone laughed nervously and said, "What are you talking about?" I started counting aloud, pointing as I went. 1, 2, 3. "Stop," someone said sharply. I froze, not because of the tone, but because I realized something. The voice hadn't come from any specific direction. It had come from between people. The lantern flickered. The metallic smell flooded the cabin all at once. So strong, my eyes watered. Several people gagged. Someone cursed under their breath. And then, silence. Not just quiet. Absence. It felt like sound itself had been turned off. When the smell vanished, the lantern steadied. 7. No one asked what I'd been counting. No one wanted to. That one when panic finally set in. Not screaming panic, not chaos. The kind that creeps in slowly and settles behind your eyes, making every thought feel slightly delayed. We slept in shifts after that, or at least we tried to. Sometime before dawn, I woke to the sound of whispering, not words, patterns, like someone practicing speech under their breath. I stayed still, pretending to sleep. Through half-closed eyes, I saw someone standing near the kitchen counter. They were facing the wall, not doing anything, just standing. When they moved, it was wrong. Not jerky, not unnatural, just slightly out of sync with the space around them, like a video playing at the wrong frame rate. They crossed the room and lay down on the floor between two sleeping people, carefully, as if they knew exactly how much space they were allowed to take. In the morning, no one admitted to sleeping on the floor. That's when the arguments started. Someone accused someone else of messing around. Someone else accused me of overthinking everything. Voices rose, people cried. Someone said we were all just exhausted. I didn't argue. I was too busy counting. It became harder. People moved too much. Someone would stand, someone would sit, someone would step outside and come back. The number kept slipping, and then something worse happened. Someone asked me a question. They used my name. I answered. They frowned and said, "No, you already answered." I stared at them. They insisted I'd said the exact same thing moments earlier. I hadn't. But when I tried to remember what I had been doing at that moment, there was nothing there, just blank space. That afternoon, one of us tried to leave alone. They grabbed their bag, walked toward the tree line and stopped. Not because anyone stopped them, because they turned around. They said they didn't remember deciding to leave. They said they'd just been walking. That night, the tapping returned, not at the door, at the walls, soft, irregular, moving. The voice followed again. This time it didn't ask to be let in. It said names, not all of them, just a few, mine included. It said them slowly, carefully, like it was checking pronunciation. I covered my ears. It didn't help. At some point, exhaustion overtook fear. People slept. I stayed awake. I watched. I counted. At exactly 3:17 a.m., I counted 9 people. I didn't react. I didn't breathe. I just watched the extra one. They were standing near the window, looking out, not moving. And then they turned. They looked directly at me and smiled. Not wide, not threatening, just enough. In that moment, I understood the truth. It didn't want to hurt us. It didn't want to replace us. It wanted to belong. and it didn't care which one of us that was. The next morning, we woke up to sunlight and birdsong. Normal sounds, normal air, normal everything. The cabin felt empty, wrong, in a different way. We packed quickly. No one argued, no one suggested staying. As we walked down the dirt road together, I counted without thinking. 7. Correct. Relief hit me so hard my knees nearly buckled. Halfway to the road, I felt it. That familiar pressure, like being observed. I turned around. At the edge of the trees, someone stood. They looked like me, not perfectly, but close enough. They raised a hand, not in farewell, in acknowledgement. Then they stepped back into the forest. We never talked about it again, not directly. But sometimes when I walk into a room, I feel that hesitation, that brief pause before everyone settles. And I count. I always count, because somewhere something is still learning, and it only needs to be counted wrong once. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. Thanks for watching.